Will we finally reach UFO transparency after all? Well, at this rate, maybe not. According to reports, Republicans in Congress are attempting to block the Senate's bipartisan measure aimed at increasing transparency, quote, around what the government does and does not know about unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. Representatives Mike Turner and Mike Rogers are reportedly leading efforts to, quote, prevent any meaningful version of this provision from being added to the National Defense Authorization Act.
Senator Chuck Schumer came for Republicans for blocking the Disclosure Act.
House Republicans are also attempting to kill another common-sense bipartisan measure passed by the Senate, which I was proud to co-sponsor with Senator Rounds as the lead sponsor, to increase transparency around what the government does and does not know about unidentified aerial phenomena. Unidentified aerial phenomena generate intense curiosity for many Americans, and the risk for confusion and misinformation is high if the government isn't willing to be transparent. The measure I championed with Senator Rounds would create a board, just like we did with the JFK assassination records, to work through the declassification of many government records on UAPs. This model's been a terrific success for decades. It should be used again with UAPs, but once again, House Republicans are ready to kill this bipartisan provision.
Schumer wrote on X on Monday, House Republicans are trying to kill the Senate's bipartisan measure to increase transparency around UAPs. The measure I'm championing with Senator Rounds would create a board to work through the declassification of government records on UAPs. We'll keep working to get this done. Joining us now to weigh in is opinion contributor at The Hill and former United States government analyst, Hill Marik von Rennenkampff. Welcome back, Marik.
Great, thanks so much for having me.
Now, is it wrong to see these efforts to obstruct increased transparency around UAPs as potentially evidence that there really is something being hidden?
That is the million-dollar question. I think a lot of people who follow this closely think that. Certainly, right, if there's nothing to see here, why would there be such fierce obstruction to the point where the Senate Majority Leader publicly calls out House Republicans on this? There's been a lot of speculation based on where and what districts those two congressmen represent. There's some connections there that are interesting. But look, bottom line, after speaking to some sources last night, it sounds like there's actually an opportunity here for Congressman Rogers and Turner to step up to the plate. And it sounds like their legislative staffs may not have been briefed on the potential ramifications of this legislation not being passed as it is written. My sources were a little bit cryptic about that, but I think we can point to the language in the legislation that really hints at the potential for catastrophic disclosure, and that in particular relates to language surrounding national security surprise. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but I'll start there. It sounds like there's an opportunity for Congressman Rogers and Turner to step up to the plate.
Well, there's certainly other Republicans who have taken a significant interest in UAPs and making transparent what the government may or may not know, including Representatives Tim Burchett, Anna Paulina Luna, and others. So, there's a bit of a split here, I think, in the GOP side. Do you see any evidence that has Burchett been hollering about this? I can imagine you might have been.
So he has. There's a little bit of complexity here because Burchett has introduced his own amendment. It's a page and a half. In my opinion, it is riddled with loopholes that will allow a government that may have been hiding information to continue hiding that information. So there's been a bit of a back and forth between the page and a half that Burchett has submitted and was included in the House version and the 64 pages in the Schumer Rounds bill. And I want to really emphasize that the Schumer bill, or amendment rather, is fiercely bipartisan. It has 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats co-sponsoring it. And that is a much more robust piece of legislation. It really outlines a very broad and nuanced process to get all government records, and I want to be very specific, all government records, and that's backed by subpoena authority, to a review panel and then eventually to be disclosed. So very different from between these two pieces of legislation. Burchett, again, many loopholes. It focuses only on publicly known sightings, and the Burchett Amendment only requires the Department of Defense actually to release records, whereas Schumer is much more broad and it covers the entire government.
Mark, you alluded earlier to there being some connection between the districts of the two oppositional Congress members and some incentives there that might explain their behavior. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So Congressman Turner is from Ohio, and he represents a district that it hosts or includes Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which anybody who's followed UFO history and UFO lore knows that that is allegedly a site of significant activity. And we know it is because Project Blue Book, which was the government's UFO debunking effort, is really what it was based at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And there are also apparently some defense contractors that are in and around that area, and also potentially connected to Congressman Rogers in Alabama. So a lot of interesting elements there, but I just want to reemphasize that there appears to be an opportunity here for the staffs from those two members of Congress really to engage with the architects and the authors of the Senate and the Schumer-Rounds bill to potentially move that forward in a successful way.
Are we any closer to identifying where the UAPs are being kept and just let's raid the facility at this point? I'm so sick of, sitting around and waiting for another hearing or another disclosure that's not really going to disclose anything because the government, wouldn't open up its doors even if. Maybe we disagree on that. I think even if I'm not saying they're not hiding anything. I think even if they weren't hiding anything, they would make this as difficult as possible because that's the nature of government bureaucracies. They very well might be hiding something, and I'm just sick of even. Let's raid the facility. Where is it?
Robbie,
tell me where it is.
Let's do a 1-6.
No, I'll do it right now.
Bobby, I wouldn't recommend that for your own personal health or safety. But I certainly empathize with your frustration. I've seen it, and I share that frustration. But I just want to reemphasize that the Schumer bill is absolutely explicitly designed to do that. And I want to quickly, there's a comment that Senator Rounds, Republican, who co-sponsored the Schumer-Rounds legislation made, and it's flown under the cover, but congressional reporter Matt Laszlo caught this, and Rounds said, and I'll try to get the exact words, but something to the effect of, "We have received buy-in from the various entities," and I'm assuming that's the various government agencies that need to necessarily play ball for this amendment to work as designed. And Rounds said, again, something to the effect of, "We got their buy-in, or we've worked on getting them all on the same page so that that this is not a surprise to them." So for what it's worth, again, I share your frustration, but for what it's worth, it sounds like from my read of that legislation and from the other bits and pieces that I'm putting together, it sounds like this is, if you want transparency, this bill is something that you, along with Senator Schumer, should be supporting.
All right, Mark, thanks so much for joining us. You got to come back and keep us updated.
Thanks so much, guys.